So the other day we reviewed Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 immediately after the COD Next event and the reveal that took place there. Having played it, I wanted to express a bit of what I was feeling through the gameplay, and I think for the most part, all of my critiques I had in the moment, I still think hold up looking back now at gameplay, that kind of thinking about it a little bit more level-headed. But while things like loadout drops are removed here and that sort of identity crisis that you might think of with the Warzone experience for better or for worse, today, having been home for a few days now at this point, reviewing footage, I wanted to dive deeper into some of the major changes, again, for better or worse, that we'll be seeing within Warzone 2 based upon this early build that we had access to. How much will be changed and how much will stay exactly the same by the time of Warzone 2's release, who knows, but this should serve as a much more comprehensive look at the gameplay systems, loop, and feel for Warzone 2 as we see it now. So as we go along, drop your thoughts below. How you feeling about any of these changes, either in the lens of the Warzone experience as we know it now, or as a standalone new thing here introduced? What do you think? If you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 upcoming. We're just over a month away from the launch of Modern Warfare 2 and just under 2 months away from the launch of Warzone 2 and DMZ. So if you'd like to join us on that road to 500,000 subscribers, I'd love to have you. And finally, check out my friends over at G Fuel who have bumped up code Espresso to 30% off your entire order in celebration of this first beta weekend. Flavors like Hype Sauce, Pink Drip, the Morbius Nectarine, and Strawberry Banana flavors. Can't go wrong with any of those, so if you're interested, links in the description below, and make sure to use code Espresso. But anyways, let's talk about these major gameplay changes we can expect to see in Warzone 2. Before we even jump into the game, one of the big things that I noticed here in this sort of pre-game lobby was we were loading into matches with 102 players for trios. Now, personally, I'm hoping that's changed. I think 150 is a very nice spot with Warzone, and in the current Warzone experience, I'm bummed that Caldera dropped down to 120. I feel like the pacing just isn't quite where it should be in terms of that. So dropping it down to 100 is something that is, again, a little bit slower, but also I don't know if this is going to be something that holds up, or if it's just something we saw in this sort of alpha state of the game. It's very possible it could have been reduced for a number of different reasons. Probably the biggest that I can think of initially is build stability for one, and then also the potential to create more lobbies to have player interaction going at the COD Next event, so that not everybody was funneled into 1 or 2 different matches, but instead there could have been like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 going on at a time, so that the broadcast could always hop back and forth between something. So just know that that might very well be changed, and honestly, of all of the things that fundamentally can be changed, that's one of the easiest ones. Now, beyond that, the map of Al Mazrah ends up having classic maps returning as points of interest, as we've seen across the Battle Royale experiences here and there since Warzone, since Blackout, but Al Mazrah ends up having Quarry as the classic Quarry, Observatory is Dome, Akhtar Village is Showdown, and Airport is Terminal, and there may very well be some more thrown in there, but those are ones that were detailed in particular. Now, in-game, minus a new infill sequence, the early game may look a little bit different. We have a new armor plate system here with Warzone 2, in which you actually come in with full plates and 2 in reserve right off the bat in the build we were playing. That might be changed, but it is something that was interesting here to find out. Though what's interesting about the system at hand is that you only have a max of 2 equipable on your person unless you end up finding a satchel to pick up, in which that offers up a 3rd plate that you can end up using in-game. So no longer do you have the opportunity right out of the gate to get 3, but you start with 2, you have to actually pick up a satchel to do that. Now, there's also only 3 plates that can be stored at a time per bundle, but with a new inventory system, you can actually end up having multiple bundles at a time on your person. Now, there are new looting mechanics here, bringing back a bit more slower paced of a system. Looting supply boxes no longer pop those items out. Instead, you can choose to leave items in that box if you want to, but you also have to manually go in and select what you want. This will likely make settings like contextual tab a must-have if there is something as such implemented, so that you can easily breeze through these, but hopefully if this is something that does stay as such, hopefully the UI is a bit more streamlined as well come the launch of the mode, because right now it's not that great for controller players. Now, I mentioned the inventory system here, in which you have a brand new backpack that comes along with it, kind of like how we saw within Blackout, but it doesn't seem like it will be as compact or as streamlined in such a way. But it is something that makes for interesting ways to end up looting up if you want to, say, take multiple of a kill streak, multiple armor bundles, more ammo. So you can sacrifice things like, say you're not using a shotgun. You don't have to pick up shotgun ammo. Instead, you can use where that shotgun ammo would be another lethal, tactical, another ammo or armor bundle. Stuff like that that allows for a bit more free play and control given to the player, which is definitely interesting. It's also going to make managing your inventory an interesting little strategy here going into late game, so we'll see how that all plays out. Now, actual mechanics, again, moving around the map a little bit while slide canceling right now isn't quite the move. It might be something that comes back here once the mode and Modern Warfare 2 are fully released. We have a new mechanic that takes the place of or reinstates slide canceling. Right now, swimming is another major mechanic added into movement, a new way to traverse the map. Now, when it comes to gunfights, one of the things that was shown off in a tech demo here for Modern Warfare 2 and the campaign and the gameplay features that we saw back in June was the ability to shoot out of water, where the bullet velocities would be adjusted accordingly if you were shooting out of the water or if you're shooting into it. However, in the Warzone 2 build that we had now, swimming is a good evasive maneuver to traverse the map, but shooting is only possible in certain criteria, it seemed like. Primary weapons could not be shot underwater for all of the ones that I had tried. It seems like it just keeps the weapon close to your chest as if you're just in a vulnerable state, while secondaries like pistols you could shoot underwater, so there were some limitations it seemed like here with that system. Now, you could shoot, however, while treading water, so you can do that. Now, as for vehicles, again, traversing the map a little bit here, we do have some changes here with this. Firstly, the controls are much more, maybe sensitive is the way to put it. It feels like you'll be having a handbrake on despite not when turning corners. You'll be done with your turn, but it will just keep going in a sense. Vehicles are also limited in fuel, so you have a finite range that you can end up taking these on, but you can refuel them at gas stations around the map. So it is something that if you end up accounting for, okay, we can take this route and we can refill on the way, you can go a little bit further than if you were not to refill. You also see these new mechanics that we have on offer, the ability to, of course, switch seats, but also climbing on the roof and leaning out of the vehicles. Vehicles can also take damage, have their tires shot out, be repaired, and also if you drive them into things like water, they won't sink or despawn. They end up just kind of floating there, which is pretty cool. Now, one other thing in-game is the zone will split every single match. It's not like a sort of random thing that you'd see like a fire sale or like a jailbreak mechanic from the current Warzone where it happens once every so often. This seemingly happens every single game. So you will have the zone mechanic break off into 3 separate smaller zones that create some smaller conflicts in there that maybe you can dominate that zone, but afterwards you might just kind of be left to sit there if you clear that zone a little quicker than anticipated. The new Gulag is changed here, where if you die, you of course have the opportunity to come back and fight for your life to play again, but this time around as a 2v2 and with gunfight OSP rule sets, if you guys remember that game mode from Modern Warfare 2019. It's essentially gunfight, one life mode, but you also have to pick up your loot as you go along. You don't start with a single pistol, a single weapon, or anything like that. You have to find it and procure it off the ground as you go along. Now, you can also kill the jailer, an AI that is in the Gulag, to secure keys to then run back to your spawn and get a sort of get out of jail free card since you have the keys and you can get out, but that might not be the best play here. I mean, it's a 2v2. It seems like a bigger Gulag, but it's still pretty small, especially when you add in another 2 players on top of that. Now, the shop is a new feature here, and that, again, adds to the buy station and also replaces some functionality of things like loadout drops. Now, in this shop, we can end up buying gear, weapons, and weapon upgrades. The gear is your standard items you'd expect to see, and a bit more. A self-revive kit, and all these prices listed were in the alpha build here. Pricing's on screen, won't reiterate that here just to save the repetition of it all, but you could buy things like your self-revive kit, gas mask, armor plate, armor box, munitions box, a 3-plate armor vest, a gas grenade, C4, claymore, smoke grenade, and mortar strike. Then going over to weapons, well, that's exactly what you'd expect. Weapons available for purchase. These were all pretty pricey, to be honest with you, which is kind of surprising to me because cash really wasn't all that abundant in the build that we had, and the pricing was seemingly all over the place because you did have weapons which I would imagine are sort of base weapons, but also it didn't detail if they had builds associated with them, if they were like custom, what they'd have on them. That seemingly coming down to the user come launch of Warzone 2, but you had things like the standard M4, the LMS marksman rifle, the Lockman sub, otherwise the MP5, another M4, again, maybe customized because of that pricing discrepancy, the Rap H, which is that Lockman LMG, the Lockman 556 AR, the Lockman 762, the Expedite 12, the FSS Hurricane, and the Signal 50 Sniper. Again, few and far between on those pricings, but also very random in terms of the pricings as well. So kind of expect those to be dropped in pricing or more sort of rounded out per se, but weapon upgrades were the only other category we saw in the buy station, but those were locked, though described as spend cash to buy attachments to upgrade your weapons. Any attachment looted in world can be equipped for free. Now that kind of hints at a system we have not seen just yet in-game, nor has it been officially detailed, but it was something that was a long time ago leaked that potentially attachment looting would be coming back as well. Very similar again to Blackout, making it more of a true battle royale by nature. So we'll see what comes of that, or if there's any deviation from now until the launch of Warzone, but just know the buy stations and how you equip your weapons are certainly much more different. Now Strongholds, we've talked about this here before, so we can kind of breeze by this, but while I personally didn't experience any of these, it is something that is guarded by AI, locked doors with high density AI combatants, and a variety of innovative features to their responses depending on your tactics as described. Conquering a stronghold will give you impressive loot, including new items that allow you to purchase one of your customized gunsmith weapons at the shop for free. So again, that massive price tag, and bear in mind, the cash that we had on offer was not a lot. You had to do a lot of looting to get anywhere near $10,000 in cash, let alone upwards of like $14,600 for something like the Wrap H LMG. So to be able to get one of those for free does make Strongholds a little bit more worthwhile. But those are some of your major features here. Some of the other things that I saw that were smaller features and changes were that fall damage appears to be present in Warzone 2. So you don't just have that sort of 13 to 14 meter drop and then you're safe, and then you go 1 meter above it and you die immediately. This kind of seemingly has a gray area where you don't die or you don't just survive. It does do damage to you. Revives, also when you're reviving a teammate, are now locked at looking at your teammate, and you can go into a crouch. I don't know if I can go into a prone. I don't think that I had that opportunity whenever reviving teammates, but you can't rotate spam to see where players are around you anymore. It's more so locked in the viewpoint of where you're actually at your teammate. So again, adding a little bit more realism. Whether or not that's good or bad, I don't quite know at the moment, but a change no less. Things like sliding down ladders are now prominently displayed on the UI as well. Loot is now no longer just on the ground and in chests. It can actually be found on shelves, in safes, in cash registers, so make sure you check where you're looting. This kind of, I think, is one of the fundamental design decisions of DMZ coming over then into Warzone by extension, so that might be why I see that. And then finally, proximity chat, again, will be something that is available in-game. That infill sequence is going to be really loud, just like PUBG is. Of course, death comms might be pretty toxic, so you might want to, if you're a content creator, streamer, or you just don't want to hear that kind of stuff, you might want to mute your game chat come the time of that. But also, maybe not, because it does have the opportunity to give away where players are if they're talking in-game. That got me a free kill at one point. So take that risk reward how you will, but that is some of the major changes here that I've picked out watching back gameplay, looking at where we are with Warzone 2. So let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys like these changes here? Do you not like these changes? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, going over all this stuff here, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone, and anything COD related. We're gearing up again for so much stuff here within the beta still, but also with launch coming up of both Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone shortly to follow. We'll keep you up to date with everything you need to know. So if you guys would like to stay in the community and join us on the road to 500,000 subscribers, I'd love to have you. But that said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.